Hey guys, Spacey here. Welcome to Koura's podcast, Filmmaking, actually. Before we jump into this episode, part 1 of the second Names on the Wall panel at the Nova Film Fest, I want to give a quick heads up regarding the sound quality. We were all recorded remotely, and that comes with some technical hurdles. So we appreciate your understanding on that front. So enjoy.
Hi, my name is Koura, and welcome back to my podcast, Filmmaking, actually. If you caught our last 2 episodes, then you know that Space Dream Productions' first film was a short film called Names on the Wall, which actually just wrapped its festival run at the Nova Fest and Capitol Film Market in April. While our film was the opening night film, we also screened as part of a film block midweek, and we were really happy to have the opportunity to follow up with the awesome audience questions that had been asked at the first panel that we weren't able to get to due to time. While this full panel was recorded and is available on YouTube on the Fame LLC YouTube channel and on our website under the Names on the Wall tab below films, we wanted to also share the content as podcast episodes because, sometimes it's easier to stream a podcast than sit there and watch a whole YouTube video. For this second panel, I was joined by some of my amazing teammates, second unit director and stunt choreographer Melissa Tracy, and my incredible husband, editor and music maker extraordinaire, Spaceship. This panel was moderated by the festival director himself, Mr. Fernando Mico. We got to discuss some of the other films in our screening block and take up the audience questions which were missed from our first panel. As we do discuss the details of Names on the Wall, we suggest watching it first if you've not already seen it. It is available on Amazon Prime Video. If you can't access it on Amazon Prime for some reason, please message us and we will send you a private screening link so you can watch before hearing all of these spoilers. All right, ready? Here is part 1 of our panel.
Welcome, everybody, to the Nova Fest. We had a couple of great documentaries and one short narrative to crack it open from Miss Koura Linda. Koura, what's your stage name out there? What is it? Koura Linda, Koura Shipton, Schleppy? What is?
Schleppy.
Okay, I just made that up. Maybe I watched The Three Stooges recently. Okay, I watch it every day. But your film, Names on the Wall, is a short narrative depicting a moment in the Vietnam War, and subsequently following your film was a documentary of an actual helicopter pilot who was active military during the Vietnam War. So I thought I was the one who programmed the schedule, so I thought that was just a great contrast to have a fiction narrative next to documentary. And then there was a great documentary that followed Before I'm Gone. So, Koura, would you very quickly? I'm Fernando Mico, the founder of the Nova Film Fest. And if you ladies could introduce yourselves one by one and tell us who you are and why are you here?
I'm Koura Linda. I'm the director and one of the executive producers and a bunch of other hats of Names on the Wall. And I am a woman with dark brown hair, and I'm currently wearing a Jewish star necklace and a blue flowered dress against a white background.
Okay, should I go?
Yeah.
that was me. Okay, hi, my name is Melissa Tracy. I am a filmmaker, and on this project, I was blessed enough to be the second unit director and stunt coordinator of Names on the Wall. I'm very honored to be here. I have long brown hair, and I'm wearing a suit.
Fantastic. So I'm going to have to get past that one. That's new on me, describing the actual visuals. You explained to me, Koura, in one of the prior panels what that means. We won't have to go over it again, but yeah. So that's just kind of. I'm trying. This is the virtual world, but I'm like imagining if this was at the bar, lounge, pub after a screening. Hi, I'm John Jane Smith. I'm wearing a white blouse with chiffon, whatever, dark hair. So. Since we have both of you representing Names on the Wall, let's just dive into your film, obviously, right now, right away. I mentioned to you, we had messaged each other, Koura, while the documentary that followed your film was playing. So I had I had a question that came to mind, and I'll leave it kind of open-ended. And please, Melissa, chime in as well. I'd love to hear your take. As far as, were you able to watch the documentary that followed by chance?
No, I was not.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, maybe I can't speak to it exactly, but then, Koura, after watching the documentary of an actual Vietnam soldier talking about everything from pulling up a soldier from the ground with an empty, they realized when he came up, the back of his skull had been blown out and looked like a coconut shell. Some real graphic and real world depictions. If you had watched this documentary or similar ones first, would that have changed anything in your direction of Names on the Wall?
I actually did. I mean, obviously not this documentary, but Nick and I did a bunch of research before we made this. And there's a couple of kind of sides to Names on the Wall. One is, as a film, we wanted, or at least I wanted, a story that could get dropped in anywhere. You know, it could get dropped in on the streets of Chicago in 1976. It could get dropped in South Central LA 2 days ago. It could get dropped in during the Civil War. It could get dropped in at any point of American history or world history and be relevant. The Vietnam War was how Nick had originally written it. And because like our sort of like tagline or whatever is, it was a war of governments, but this is a story of the soldiers. For us, we went back and forth on a lot of different elements. How graphic do we want to be? How much do we want to share? How much do we want to create a specific soldier as opposed to a generalized? Like the fact that the soldiers aren't even named in the script, you know, and they aren't called like unnamed soldier. They're just called Soldier 1, Soldier 2, because that's kind of the point. And obviously Viet Cong. I looked up a lot of images. I looked up a lot of history. It was funny when he told that story. I'm wondering if there's some other either version of that documentary or some other place that story is, because it sounded really familiar to me when I was watching it.
Yes, me too. When I first saw it,
yeah, I was like, I feel like even as it was coming up, I was like, something's gonna happen. I was like, oh, he's dead. Like, it was weird. It felt like I'd already heard that take before, so I was wondering if maybe there was like a trailer for it or something that I'd seen. But I guess the short-ish answer is, even just in the amount of gore that we chose to show, like the Vietnam War was violent and dirty as a war. Like, it was, wars are already horrible, but it went to new levels with the things that happened on the actual battlefield. And we gave the soldiers their stories. There's actually several pages of who they are, where they came from, what they were like growing up, where they were going, you know, for each one of the soldiers. And obviously, you know, the second soldier, his whole backstory was that he was one of the guys who joined it because it, you know, he wasn't drafted. He signed up because he wanted to go murder people and get celebrated for it. And he got off on doing it. And it was what, you know, was twisted in him. And so we wanted to put some of that in there without getting too far into it, because we also didn't want to run up against political issues like, oh, but we needed to be there, or someone was like, oh, but we shouldn't have been there and what we did was wrong. Like, we didn't want to get too nitty-gritty detailed beyond the bits that we put in to tell the story, because we wanted to keep it as level a field and as open a story that hopefully any human, whether they're familiar with Vietnam or not, can relate to. And then for the people who were there, for the people whose friends were there, for the people who know what it was like, hopefully it will speak to them and be real enough for them too. Hopefully that answers the question.
No, I think you hit the point. You know, all war's hell. And just now, as you're speaking, it reminds me of one of the moments in one of Clint Eastwood's films. I think it was the Japanese version of Flags of Our Fathers. I can't recall the title, but where it was kind of same team fire on somebody, on the enemy that you didn't necessarily befriend, but there was a measure of respect. And I think you guys did a great job of capturing just how gray the Vietnam conflict was, while keeping a universal theme. So, kudos to you for that. We are going to open up. Corey, you sent me a bunch of questions that some people had sent in, which I will ask you, but I'm going to leave one more. I haven't thought of ahead of here if this is so much a comment as a question, so much as a comment / compliment, and it involves you, Melissa, in so much as in a prior conversation, Koura panel, or maybe it was a conversation, I had mentioned that you said I was the first one who said, at least, that I saw where your film was going to go. I knew where Names on the Wall. I knew how it was going to end. There's essentially two. In general, the ending is they're going to become friends. It's more of an organic thing. It's not like I sit down with my tablet in a movie. I'm going to predict what's going to happen. It just sort of happens naturally, even as a kid. But where in so much, and it's basic for the screenwriters, the new ones. It's basic screenwriting. You always start at the end. When you have the end, this is what's going to happen to your character or your environment. And once you have your solid ending, then you write your beginning because it is the exact opposite. So then you have the arc. You have the beginnings of the arc of the story. So as I'm watching the first few minutes or so, okay, they're mortal enemies. Okay, they're going to be buddies. That's the way this is going to end. So if they're going to be buddies, and the mind starts racing. If they're going to be buddies, there's going to have to be what's the conflict in being buddies? Well, it's either they're going to have to decide whether to kill each other and not kill each other and walk away, or there's going to be some jerk on either side coming out, and they're probably going to kill the other one, and the one soldier is going to have to kill their own guy. That was my internal prediction, and there it was. So my point of that little tirade is that for me, much like watching I Love Lucy, I know that's an abstract stretch, but if you think of like the chocolate assembly line scene, everybody kind of knows what's going to happen. Okay. In this case, I kind of saw what was going to happen. The beauty is going to be in seeing how they carry it out. So that's where the compliment's coming in, because it wasn't so much, okay, what's going to happen? How are they going to tell the story? And that's absolutely in the director's hand. And both of you smashed it out of the park. So again, I guess I wasn't planning ahead too much on that. So I guess it's more of a compliment / comment. And since you're welcome. And since that, again, that was more of just a straight shot commentary on my part, I will open it up. I'm looking over the list of questions that were sent over, and if it's all right, I'll just start peppering you with them. If both of you are cool with that. Yes?
All right.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. Through so many classic war stories, what inspired the team to tell this particular story at this time?
I guess I'll answer it first, and then I guess Melissa can answer what drew her to it, to want to be a part of it. It is, it's funny because I originally picked up the script in 2013. That's when I was like, okay, this is the movie I'm going to make. And it went through several years of even just between getting off the ground, getting made, and getting done. There was a several year process in that for various reasons. And at the time, I wanted to tell a story that could potentially shake humanity. And I wanted it to be timeless. And I wanted it to be something that no matter when you watch it, if you go back to it, you can be like, that's a Space Dream Productions film. Like, we were starting the company, we were building our brand, figuring out what type of things do we want to do. And we wanted a film that would stand as a testament to what we could do when given full control of a project and the allowance to create it, develop it, bring in the cast and crew, finish it, like when it was done entirely by our team. What can we do? So I think the fact that it still plays so relevant now means that we picked a good script. And I don't think it was a matter of like, why this film and why now? It was a matter of, this is a story that hopefully people can relate to no matter when they watch it. And I hope that it continues. I mean, on the one hand, I hope it doesn't continue to be relevant because I'd like people not to be dealing with like racism and hatred. But I'd like it to be a relevant story that people can understand no matter when they watch it. Yeah.
Melissa?
All right. So, like Koura said, when you're second unit directing, a lot of the stuff you do because you need to eat. You need to keep a roof over your head. You need to survive. Okay. But when Koura presented me this project, Koura and I had worked on another film together. And I try to be very picky on the projects I choose anyway, when I'm second unit directing second unit directing and stunt coordinating, I try to be really picky on the projects. They can't be bashing women and women can't look like idiots and all this other stuff. But this film just stood out. It was amazing, being part of this project, being socially relevant. And just, it's like I've always felt that way when it came to war, that it's always the government and it's the people. And my mom grew up in World War II and she was telling me how a lot of the people would, between the two sides, even though they were at war, they're still hanging out at the fence between the two countries, passing cigarettes through the gates and stuff like that. So, it was like the people were friendly. It was the governments that were at war. So when I saw and I read this script, it really hit me. And I knew I needed to be, a part of this. And what Koura said before that, we had total control where it was like, it was going to be Koura and the team and myself and we had control. So we knew it was going to be good. We weren't going to have, a studio come in and mess it up. We weren't going to have somebody destroy this lovely quilt that we made basically and cut it up and then only put 3 pieces on it. We, when Koura said, yeah, you can second unit direct this, you can work with the DP, put, camera where it needs to go, do the shots. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be awesome because it's going to actually look really good. And Koura listened and it was just amazing. And everybody was safe and everybody was wonderful and it looked amazing. And the DP was amazing and Koura was amazing to work with. And she explained her vision. And I carried out her vision of telling the story that we needed to go. And she was the most awesome filmmaker to work with when it came as a second unit director. It's like the perfect partner you want to have when you're second unit directing. So that's why when I had the chance to do a meaningful film that meant something, I just had to jump at the chance. And that's why I did this, even though it was, it's a short film. But it's an amazing, like I said, the other day, it should really be up for Academy Award because it's that heartfelt and that meaning, it's just, I don't know, it was executed well. And it was just, well planned out from beginning to end. It was fun to work on. Everything went well. And, it's just, it was just a really good experience.
Thank you, Melissa. I loved working with you.
I want to work on it now. Is next. Okay. That actually leads it into the next question slightly. Is this team going to make another film?
So I will answer that. I've had the honor of working with almost every member of the cast and crew again several times, whether it was just auditioning for other projects or whether it was actually doing other projects. We try to build our network, obviously, like any filmmaker does, but of people who not only are very talented, but are also good people and trustworthy. You can be an amazing talent, but then you can get on set and you can refuse to do something because you just don't want to anymore. You change your mind. You don't want to do that. Or you can, be brought into a project and then tell the director, well, I'll tell you if I think it's good enough. And, it can become these sort of awkward situations. And no matter how talented somebody is, you have to be able to be with them for 15 hours or 12 hours or even 10 hours and have all your meals, be on location, be traveling, be at very close quarters, even before COVID. And to be together for that long, that close, you don't have the room or space for toxicity or for egos or for whatever. So I will say that out of this specific project, I worked with Brendan on another film. I've worked with Mary on several other projects. She is actually the lead for our upcoming feature, Comic Relief, which has a little bit of a fairly major stunt sequence that Melissa will be overseeing. And I've coordinated with Melissa on stuff where maybe, there's like a little music video and it's super small and I can't afford to bring her in, but she'll get a phone call and be like, hey, if I do this, is that doing it safe? And she's very nice. She doesn't send me the next day. But because we've done little stunts in things since, just with what we've learned from her about telling. I'm just going to totally talk on Melissa for a second. She's not only brilliant as a stunt coordinator, but she understands that the fight has to tell a story. It's not just about making a punch look good or making a punch look real. There has to be a reason for the punch, and it has to read in a way that the audience understands why that punch is happening, the way it's happening, when it's happening, and the moments of the actors being in pain and where they're looking and what they're doing and what they're going for. I was able to give her that part of the story and say, okay, look, they need to be ready to kill each other with their bare hands. That is where they are starting. They need to be ready to commit death using their bare hands, to take the life from another human being. And I need to see that. And she, went over all the different sequences with me. And, she was also adamant about mats and padding and safety. And our actors trained for 4 weeks. And, we set aside part of our budget to cover paying for the classes and paying for the mats and paying for that, because at the end of the day, we were able to go out to like this jungle environment and have these two people pretend to try and kill each other, and nobody so much as got a scratch. I don't even think the guys got like a paper cut. Like they didn't get anything.
Yeah.
So that just speaks to Melissa as a stunt coordinator and as a second unit director, as someone who can take the director's vision and go, okay, good, this is the part of the story that I'm going to help to tell. I understand what you need, and then I'm going to do it. And it was so nice. Even our sound mixer, Kyle Jacobson, I've worked with him every time we can afford him. I have to come back out. We've got Catching the Light, which Kyle Jacobson was the sound mixer on, is in post-production. And we've got Comic Relief, which is coming up soon. We're just restructuring for some COVID safety. And we've got a film that we're being brought in on to write that I can't officially announce yet, but once we can, that is going to be utilizing people from Names on the Wall as well. So we're excited.
Fantastic. Yeah, Melissa, I'd love to talk to you offline at some point just about it's a special love of mine. I have a martial arts background. My feature film had some action and
exciting.
I'll nerd out too, where there's a mix in the movie magic and stunt fight choreography that's got to be symbiotic, because it could be fantastic fight choreography, but if the storyline doesn't add any breath or spirited to it, I won't say it doesn't mean anything. Like I said, I'll nerd out where in Star Wars, that was just an excellent scene between Darth Maul and Ben Kenobi. That was obviously
yes, he is
a great martial artist, and that was choreographed incredibly well. But then I had more impact watching, back in 1983 or whatever, watching Luke Skywalker fart.
That would take him out. That would really take him out if he just farted. That would take him out.
But there's a scene where it's like, I won't fight you, I won't fight you. It's like, all right, if you won't fight me, maybe I'll get your sister. Not my sister. And then they go at it. Then you feel the 6 years of the storytelling and the backstory all come into place. And while the choreography was pretty damn good, I'd say the Darth Maul Kenobi fight, that was pristine as far as martial arts weapons go. But I was totally more invested in the emotionally into like, oh, that's the father son. I remember him when I was, like 4 years, so it brought so much more into play. So yeah, so you guys definitely pulled it off on the choreography. I'm going to try to knock these out. Unless Melissa, did you have a comment to follow up?
Look, it's like I always like to tell the story with the director, find out what they need, and the other thing too is Koura was all about it. I went out and researched and talked to Vietnam vets that were working, during the time and that were fighting, and how did they fight and all that kind of stuff. Cool. And like Koura said, you always want to make sure the fight, like they're not going to be doing wushu. I don't know. I'm really traditional about that. I don't want wushu in a Vietnam War fight. Sorry, that's just I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry, but that's unless it's like fantasy, So we went out and actually researched, and talked to Vietnam vets about how they were fighting, and talked to people that were actually fighting in Korea. It's fighting in Vietnam. Sorry, and found that they were doing more of the, more Muay Thai type fighting with knees and elbows. So it's like, it's like you always have to take this, and it was like wonderful working with Koura because she's like, yeah, let's do that. Let's not put like, wushu in like, a Vietnam War fight, what I mean? So it's like working with a director that has a vision, that will work with you, that will explain what the emotional beats are passionately before, the scene, and understand that there is a fight to, there's a story to be told in the fight. It's just awesome to work with, and just being given the time and energy. And then also the actors stepped it up. I mean, the actors didn't know how to film fight, and they really stepped it up. They were willing to listen. They were, willing to learn how to be safe. They didn't want to hit each other, which I've had directors secretly talk to the actors, and I've had to shut down sets because I've had actors. Yeah, I've had directors secretly talk to the actors to try and get the actors to hit each other behind my back, and I've had to shut them down because I caught the director talking to an actor trying to, so it's like, what I mean? When you go from working like with that and you go to Koura, it's like amazing. So
it's so basic. Just be a good person.
Yeah, don't be a psychopath. 101. When you're working with stunts, don't be a psychopathic director, please.
So again, kudos to you, Koura, for not just seeing that. I never saw the screenplay, but that could easily have been fight scene.
That's what it was.
One.
The script.
Yeah,
the script
that's
is
it.
Like
one. Okay, there you go. But so again, kudos to you to getting into the research and the detail. Where Melissa, you must have been going nuts during like the '90s TV shows where. Why is the caveman doing a spinning hook kick? Where did they learn that? So, somewhere in the storyline, just all of a sudden they're, or superhero movies like, I'm recruiting you.
Yeah, it does. And the other thing is like when people aren't holding like swords right. It's just I don't know. It's just like that drives me crazy. That just drives me crazy. But anyway, just like this was a period piece. I just wanted to keep it authentic to the period. And I mean, fantasy films we can do whatever we want, right? But this was an authentic piece, and we want to make it real. And the other important thing working with Koura is she understood that the actors had to act during the beats, and she wanted me to train the actors. She didn't want to just throw a stunt people with no expression. She wanted expressions and the beats of the acting, which is really important, which a lot of people don't end up putting in the fights. And allowing those acting beats is so important because that's what gets you hooked into the scene is the acting beats. I mean, just those little things where he's like, he's shocked, he's grabbing, going for the gun. It's like allowing for those moments, You're
giving me goosebump Peter tingles. That's exactly on point because I've just seen so many, and I'm not going to call out names, but there are festivals that we've been to, Koura, where there are a lot of choreographed fight scenes where, and they're by martial artists, Melissa. So they want to show like the technique and the swivel and the move, and they're these giant wide shots. And no, don't. A couple of cuts.
Right. Yeah, and it's like there's no, and like it's like if somebody hits somebody in the shoulder. I don't know. It's just like if you can hit somebody in the face and take them out. I don't know. Just like I don't know. I see a lot of those where people are hitting each other in the shoulder, and you're like, okay, what is? This is a street brawl. So why wouldn't you just hit them in the face? And I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of that stuff that happens. I'm like, I don't understand.
Don't put them less than the dark take you out.
Yeah, there's a lot of there. Yeah.
No,
anyway.
but again, I was just going to say you hit the tones and notes where just that little glimpse, the gun's over there, the knife's over there. I'm going to go for this target. I missed, but you're bringing, again, now that's absolute filmmaking. You're bringing your viewer along for the ride. They are that protagonist or even antagonist. They know what's going on in their head without them having to say it. So that's what action's all about.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we present the rest of this panel. If you have additional questions not covered in our panels, feel free to reach out on our social media. Names on the Wall is on Facebook under Names on the Wall. And you can always email us here at... Okay, Spacey, that's your cue. Bye.
You've been listening to Filmmaking Actually with Koura Linda, the Space Dream Productions podcast. Subscribe to us on any or all the podcast platforms, but we especially recommend our sponsor, Anchor. If you like what you hear, leave us 5-star ratings and positive reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. It helps more listeners like you discover the show. But the best thing you can do if you really like the show is tell a friend. Want to leave a comment or ask a question? Email at filmmakingactually@gmail.com. This is Spacey speaking.
What's your stage name out there? What is it? Koura Linda, Koura Shipton, Schleppy? What is
Schleppy.
Okay.
And we'll see you next time.
If you caught our last 2 episodes, then you know that Names on the Wall. I can do this. If you caught our last 2 episodes, then you know that... Wow. Oh no, you're about to walk in. You're going to ruin it all. Ah!